Hello, and thank you for joining me for the first of our webinars having to do with our Perkins eGrants application. For those of you that are new to the application, I'd like to walk you through everything that you'll need to know about each section of the application. Today we're going to start with the end of year reports. But before we even get into the end of year reports, I want to talk to you about what is on this page that you're seeing. Billings School District has given me permission to use their application from last year so I can walk you through each of these components of the grant. One of the things you're going to need from your application from last year for part of the end of year report is something from your performance and accountability page. So what I'd like to do first is to show you how to collect that data so you'll have it in front of you when you get to the end of year report. You're going to go to application pages and open that. You'll see that several other bars here open up. We're going to performance and accountability. And there's a performance level summary here on performance and accountability, and you can actually look at your previously reported performance in each of the state negotiated levels to see if there's any indicators here that you did not meet or exceed. Okay, so these are the ones that you're looking for right now. So, for instance, for Billings, they may be looking at secondary placement, and so you're just going to note 5S1 secondary placement, and that's something that you're going to need for when you get over to the end of your report. So look through and see if there's anything else here that you may need to put into your end of year report. You can also copy this page, just go up to File and just copy this single page so you have it available for you. All right, now we're ready to go to the end of year reports. What this is all about is the federal government that gives us the money through the Carl D. Perkins Act, and this is Perkins 4, has asked us to have an end of year report put into our application to explain what you did with the money last year and what outcomes you had from last year. So when you click on end of year reports, you're going to have some other blue tabs that pop up. So schools with programs. Now most of you are only going to fill in one school in this slot, your high school 1, whatever school that is. The reason I chose Billings is because they have 4 high schools within their school district, and they do have to fill out this application for every one of their schools. So you're just simply going to type the name of your school here and then save the page. You'll see on my screen, because this application has already been approved from last year, I don't have a save button on here. But please do save each of the pages as you go through. The next, you're going to click on Programs Offered. When you come to Programs Offered, here are the headings: Ag Ed, Business, Family Consumer Science, Health Occupations, which is Health Science, and Industrial Trades and Technology. If you have these programs in your school, all you need to do is click on the radio button, and it will bring up a check mark in each of these things. So you can see that in Billings Career Center, they have a couple more programs than the other homeschools have in the Billings area. Next, so again, to the page. Next, you're going to come to advisory committees. Now, advisories are also a new mandate through Perkins 4. This is the 4th iteration of Perkins, the Act of 2006. And you will need to decide whether you have a consolidated advisory committee or if you have separate advisory committees for each of your career and technical education programs. For most small schools, please choose the consolidated advisory committee. It makes the most sense to bring everyone together and have a couple meetings a year. In the larger schools, you probably need to have separate advisory committees to look at your Ag Ed program, your business program, Family Consumer Science, Health Occupations, and Industrial Trades and Technology. One of the things I'd like you to take note of is that under the business and industry, for instance here in Industrial Trades and Technology, These are actual folks from business and industry or a college representative. Okay, we really do not need to have this filled with all the names of your teachers that are in your program. And really, I know this is a very long group, a long list of people that are in their advisory board, but this makes sense for their school. So, for a small school, look around your community. If you really don't have businesses that fit, for instance, if you're offering industrial trades and technology, you might look to a chamber of commerce. You might look to join another school. You might even put up an ad in your local grocery store to see if there are retired people that would give you some information about this community. If you still can't come up with some ideas for people on your advisory committee, you can even partner with a local college if you'd like, a local two-year college or community college to see if you can join their board for this kind of input. As you'll see further down, advisory committees are becoming more important to really establish that connection between education and the workforce. So please keep in mind that you need to do this. I want to also advise right now, when you do have your meeting, that you will need to keep minutes of the meeting, because if you are then visited on a Perkins monitoring visit, we will ask to see the minutes of your advisory board meeting, your advisory committee board. They're not a legal board that oversees you, but they are an advisory board that you are hoping will help you understand more about the connection between high school and the business world in your community. Once you're done with that, again, remember to save the page. Now we're actually getting on to EOY, just stands for End of Year Report, High School 1. So most of you will only have to do High School 1, but please note when we click on a High School 1 that there's actually 2 pages under High School 1 that you'll need to fill out. So the question 1 here is just talking about describing the specific outcomes that resulted from how you utilized your Perkins money last year. What you want to do is just write down what it is, what kinds of materials you bought, and how you use them in your class. You'll see if you want to click on Printer Friendly up in the corner, you'll be able to see everything that you're writing in here. Okay? Let's move on to question 2. Remember, I had you look at your performance indicators. I said they were performance and accountability indicators. The page that you may have either jotted down or printed out, you're going to need that here. So it's asking what strategies did you employ to address any indicators that did not meet the state threshold targets. So you had those state negotiated thresholds right on that same page that we were just looking at. It's also going to ask if you did disaggregate your data to identify any disparities or gaps in performance. And that's usually done if you have a school that maybe has 3 or more career and technical education programs. You might want to see if there's a weakness in the educational attainment, graduation, placement of any of the programs in those programs that you offer. Question number 3, how did you provide students with strong experience in and understanding of all aspects of an industry? Here you may make mention of something that you did with your advisory committee, how they helped. You might have brought in guest speakers. You might have had field trips. You might talk about upgrading the equipment that you had in your particular program area. You might talk about whether your teachers went to any professional development so that they could learn more about the aspects of an industry. Just put that in here. Question 4, what steps did you take last year to develop skills leading to employment and or entry into advanced CTE training? So we're really looking to see, do you have any kind of apprenticeship programs? Did you establish any kind of job shadowing, internship? Are you working, I know in the Billings School District that they actually built a house. The students built a house. They also do the landscaping and the interior design. In the health science programs, they are doing a lot of internships within the hospital as well as training in lab techniques with certification. So there's different things here that you can put down. If you didn't take any steps to develop skills leading to employment, perhaps you held a career fair where you brought in local industry that could talk to your students about something. Does this program reflect the hiring needs of employers in the geographic area of your school, and how was this determined? This might be new to most of you about why you would even have to look at this. I would like to suggest that you look at our Montana Department of Labor puts out a Labor Day report. So that is going to come out, obviously, on Labor Day, and it's going to give you lots of information about career pathways or Big Sky pathways and what pathways are growing in the state, what our highest workforce needs are, and we're looking to see if your programs are somehow looking at those needs. It doesn't necessarily have to be statewide. It could also be for your local region. Perhaps you have something specific in your region that you really are working on building that employer connection with. It's also asking if your school offers work-based learning experiences inside or outside of the school. So we want to know what is going on as far as strengthening that connection between our high schools and our industry, business and industry in our communities. Question 6. How did you ensure CTE students were taught to the same coherent and rigorous content with challenging academic standards as are taught to all other students? For most of you in a small school, you just don't have multiple sections of math or English language arts or science or social studies. And so here, maybe your answer is going to be that all students are enrolled in the same coherent and rigorous and challenging courses, and that you don't separate out your students. Professional development, perhaps you know this already, but 10% of your Perkins allocation each year is supposed to be spent on professional development. That is actually a state mandated request that we ask you to spend 10% of your Perkins money on professional development. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to send your teachers somewhere in the state or out of state. You could bring in an expert in a particular area if you would like to do training that way as well. But for instance, here in Billings, all 4 instructors attended a diesel engine training course. Okay, in Biomed, they do Project Lead the Way, and they went to core training. Whatever you're doing with your 10% of your local allocation, please write that here. What I'm seeing more and more is that in small schools, you're turning back your Perkins money because the teachers are not utilizing this 10%. Please know that you can use this for their CTSO, that's our Career and Technical Student Organization dues. You can use it to pay their dues to the Montana Association of Career and Tech Ed. You may use it for ISTE if you have tech ed teachers. Anyway, you can spend it if you don't have all that much money. You can certainly invest in someone's membership in an organization. So hopefully they're going to get either a magazine or some kind of website where they can seek information for professional development. You can also send your counselor, school counselor, to do some professional development on career exploration. That would be another good use of your funds here. Program evaluation. This might be new to you as well, or perhaps a lot of you, when your students are graduating, just kind of query students about whether they like the program, what parts of the program they like. So what we'd like to find out is, how are you evaluating and continuously improving your career and technical education programs? And specifically, are these program objectives developed and related to specific career cluster? So we've been asking you about pathways, career pathways. We call them Big Sky Pathways in Montana. It's just another name for a program of study. If you need more information about Big Sky Pathways or programs of study, we will have another webinar that explains this for you. So program evaluation is number 8. You're at the end of the page. You will have a save button at the bottom of your page. Please save the page so all your answers are saved. If, for instance, you're starting this and you're interrupted at any time, go down to the bottom of your page and save the page so that you can come back in and work on it at a later date. Now come over to High School 1, page 2. We're only going to go through one high school. It would be if you had 2 or 3 or 4 high schools, it's going to be the same application, and perhaps different schools are offering different programs. That's why we have the end of year report, so you can tell us about all 4 high schools. Before we start reading down on page 2, one of the things that I would like to recommend to all of you is that your career and technical education teachers should be keeping some sort of calendar of events on their desktops, whether they have a paper pencil calendar, whether they keep a journal, some way of noting answers to these questions, and before they leave at the end of the year, have them turn in these questions with some things that they've done in their program areas so that you can fill this out appropriately. If you haven't done this already, then you may need to wait for the start of the school term to get the teacher's information from last year. Now we're looking at question 9. What steps did you take to ensure your equipment and facilities reflect industry standards? Some of you have OSHA inspections. Some of you put in eye wash stations. Whatever you're doing for your programs, please let us know. Again, if you want to look at the whole page, you can expand it using that printer-friendly button here. How are you assessing student interest in CTE programs? Here we want to find out, are your students choosing programs because you only have one available? Are they asking for other programs? Are you doing any of the assessments on the Montana Career Information System to find out what careers your students are interested in, and then maybe trying to move your programs to answer that need? Here, 8th grade students from Billings, the middle schools are given guided tours of the Career Center. That may also help to decide student interest. Perhaps they're given an inventory, student interest inventory after that visit to find out what the student would be most interested in taking as a CTE program. Number 11, estimate how much time was spent per student on career guidance and career counseling, and explain who delivered these services in your school. Okay. We're also asking whether you're using the Montana Career Information System or something equivalent. When we get into this part, you may want to talk with your school counselors, but I know that a lot of our CTE teachers do an awful lot of career exploration with their students. And so what we want to know is who's actually delivering that. I know as I visit schools, it's very hard for your career counselor, your school counselor, to get to, say, 400 students and really do an assessment of careers that they're interested in. However, you may find that your teachers in the CTE programs are already doing that for you. Question 12 actually is also from the federal grant. And the state had to decide what we thought was size, scope, and quality of a quality career and technical education program. Okay. So here we are asking you about the quality of your CTE program. So if you have a large district, do you have approximately 5 programs or less? If you're a medium district, 3 programs. If you're a small district, 1 program. Are you offering 2 or more CTE courses in a very specific progression? So those are the kinds of questions here. Of course, if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to contact any of our specialists in the Career and Technical Education program, and we would be happy to help you figure out how to fill these out. Let's go to question 13. How are your local advisory committees, parents, faculty, administrators, or counselors and representatives of business and industry involved in developing, implementing, or evaluating your CTE program? Again, what we really want to know is, are you having active advisory boards? We're really looking to see that you are engaged in your community to find out what is needed within business and industry. It may be that you're close to a two-year college or a four-year college, and you may also talk with the colleges on what kinds of career interest is offered in the college setting as well, in the post-secondary setting. Special populations. As you may find throughout the Perkins application, there's a lot of reference to special populations, and this doesn't just mean students that have disabilities, a physical disability, this or even any kind of learning disability. This could be a student that comes from a low-income family. It could be a student with English as a second language. Anyway, there are about 6 different definitions on special populations, and later on in the grant, I'll show you where exactly to find that information on special populations. You're going to be describing any strategies that you needed to use in your CTE programs to ensure equal access for all of the students. Okay, so one of the things we're looking for is, are these special population students in high demand, high wage, or high skill occupations that will lead them to self-sufficiency? So if that's a possibility, please let us know what it is you're doing, and then we can learn from each other, because at OPI we can then share this through our promising practices in career and technical education. 15. How do your CTE programs develop personal, career, and leadership skills? Now, most of you are going to talk about your career and technical student organizations, CTSOs. If you're not familiar with those, we have BPA, DECA, and that's business. DECA is usually a marketing class. FCCLA, usually family consumer science. FFA, your ag ed program. HOSA is future health professionals. That's the health science program. Skills USA could be any of your trades and industry. And TSA if you're doing tech ed, robotics. So if you are not involved in any one of these student organizations, then we need you to tell us how you are actually developing personal, career, and leadership skills within your school. So you can see here that for Billings, they have a number of programs. They do have HOSA, they have FFA, and I'm sure if we scroll down, we're going to find that they have some other programs in here as well. TSA, Cafe Protege. Number 16 is Big Sky Pathways. If your school will have a new CTE teacher or a new CTE program, we're just asking for you to provide us with the program name and the teacher name if you know it, because we want to be sure that we reach out to any new teachers and let them know that we have a new CTE professionals workshop that we offer every fall, and that we can also give them individualized training on developing their own career pathway or Big Sky pathway with your local college or another college that offers programs that they are teaching. I believe there will be a 17th question this year regarding how you spent your state Bowhead money. This was something the legislature asked us to ask schools about. We don't need a detailed listing. If you can just give us an overview of how the state Bowhead funding, now that it's been doubled, is indeed used in your school. So that's going to be question 17 on this sheet. Again, please save the page. I don't want you to lose any of the work that you've been doing. Alrighty, that wraps us up for our first webinar today, and I really appreciate you being with me today. Again, please feel free to contact any of our program specialists in the career and technical education division, and we would be happy to help you with this.